So yeah, last week you guys took a pilgrimage. Not really a pilgrimage because you're not pilgrims, but you took a journey through many of the dangers and wonders of Mount Celestia. You guys met some Hollyphants, and you did some extreme snowboarding, as it were. And
some of us survived.
You met a dwarf who was panning for gold.
Yeah, he was cool.
You made friends with some dragons. That was fun. And then you arrived at the stronghold of the Plains Militant called Steelwarth's Holdfast. One of the many holdfasts on the fourth layer. The fourth layer of Mount Celestia is kind of the Plains Militant's main footprint because the Grand Monastery of the Plains Militant is on this layer. The fourth layer also happens to be the last layer that most pilgrims reach. Getting to the fourth layer is within the bounds of reality for most lawful good people within a realistic amount of time. Getting beyond the fourth layer is a monumental task and is very, very difficult. So this tends to
everyone
be
just cheat like us.
As far as Mahogany knows, cheating Mount Celestial the way you guys did is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing. Like, that kind of loophole would very likely not exist elsewhere on the plane. In fact, Riot's the one who learned about it, I think. Yeah, she learned about it from Nick of Bones.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and I mean, her reaction was, of course there's a loophole, but we're on the lawful side of the wheel where loopholes are in short supply. So as far as common knowledge goes, getting higher than this in Mount Celestia is very difficult, and many pilgrimages end here because the path upward seems impossible.
See, the way Mahogany thinks about it, the lawful side of the wheel is exactly where you're going to find loopholes, because the chaotic side just
on the
won't
lawful
care.
side, I think, is going to have loopholes. I agree.
So how do you guys... Well, first I'll ask this. Do you intend to wait until Amuleth shows up?
That was kind of the plan before. I mean, we got no idea of where he was coming from. And I think I would like to take a dip in the reflecting pool.
Okay. The alternative to waiting is going out to look for him, and we don't know where that would be.
Exactly.
You actually do. He's coming from the realm of Irakanor. Irakanor is, the realm of the Dwarvish Pantheon, which also has a large contingent of Plains Militant, especially because there are so many Dwarven warriors who commit themselves to the cause of good. And in your time here at the Holdfast, the reason Amuleth is so well known is because he works as kind of a liaison between the different Holdfasts. He journeys back and forth. He is able to move pretty freely between the first 4 layers of the mountain. So he's able to run messages, get news across, do coordinating between the various house wardens. And when there's no more pressing business for him to do, he tends to just journey from one to the other, making a circuit. And that's what he's doing now. So he would be coming from Irakanor.
Sorry.
Okay. Says, you mentioning that sounded familiar, and I looked up at my notes, and that's what it says. Our task in Mount Celestia is to reach Irakanor and speak to Amuleth, etc., etc. It says he's on the 4th level of the mountain. Is that where Irakanor is? Is
yes.
It also on the 4th level?
Irakanor is on the 4th layer.
So we wouldn't have to change the layers in order to get to Irakanor.
No.
Okay.
But it would to get there would probably take longer than a 3-day journey.
Yeah, I was going to say, when is he expected?
And he's expected here, he's scheduled to arrive here in about 3 days, which means he's already left Irakanor and he's en route.
Then doesn't seem to make sense to go and meet him.
It's also
especially
very likely
because
that
we're
he's
more
flying.
likely to find people here who are able to get us back to Sigil.
Okay.
Or point us in that direction at least.
Yeah.
Okay. So El Ciclon, you said you wanted to, over the course of this 3 days, take a dip in the pool.
Yeah.
Do Kelian or Riot have any plans to dump their chaotic asses in this pool?
I was also gonna. I think I have enough XPs to level. And I was also going to take a downtime action to level.
Riot might do it on the second or third day after she gets really bored of this entire dump.
Leveling is definitely something that you guys could do as a downtime action here at the Holdfast. That's something you could take care of.
Oh,
here.
okay. Yeah, Serenity's ready to do that.
I don't think I could, because my 6th level, which is what I would advance to, I get a Bard College feature. And so it doesn't really make sense for me to level anywhere that I can't get to the Bard College.
That's fine. Then you can wait until you get back to Sigil to do it.
Yeah.
It's 14,000 for level 6, yes.
How much is it?
Is it 14,000? That's what I'm asking.
That's what I remember.
It is 14k, yes.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, I will be taking a downtime action to level that.
I was like 35 EXP short at the start of the last session.
Okay, so Serenity and Riot won't be leveling here, but the other two of you...
No, Serenity will.
Oh, Serenity will?
Yeah.
Serenity's a barbarian. She can level anywhere.
Well, no, Serenity is going to take an entire day to be in the reflecting pool and just meditate and reduce the barriers between her thoughts and her actions.
So let's start with... we'll skip Riot, because she's not leveling yet. What does Kelian get at level 6?
You get some expertise.
Expertise?
Yeah.
And what are you taking your expertise in?
I don't know. I just learned that I could level.
Oh.
I'm going to figure that out now.
Okay. What does Ciclon get at level 6?
Ciclon gets a feature from his monk path. I have to.
Oh, I know what you get.
Where...
Your fists count as magic weapons now.
Yeah, I get that, and then I get a feature from my monk path as well.
All right, that's my cue to start throwing monsters that are immune to non-magic weapons.
I'll be right there with you, Ciclon. Don't worry.
One of my favorite things about Planescape is everything you fight ever has this. It's immune to non-magic weapons, and you need a +1 or better weapon to hit. So what is Serenity taking at level 6?
Serenity gets aspect of the beast for the eagle. You gain the eyesight of an eagle. You can see 1 mile away with no difficulty. Are able to discern even fine details as though you were looking at something no more than 100 feet from you. Additionally, dim light doesn't impose disadvantage on your perception checks.
Cool. And Mahogany gets his bear claws count as magic weapons. Is that correct?
Right. I got a couple other things too.
Okay.
Obviously,
like
I
can change it to CR2 beasts.
Okay.
My monk path ability, the one that where I lock out, you can't spend key points of superiority dice, disadvantage on attack rolls.
Yeah.
Save DC is reduced by 5. Normally that lasts until the end of turn, until the end of my next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm sorry, its next turn. I can do that. I can spend 2 key points instead of just 1, and it persists until they make a Constitution saving throw at the end of their turn.
Cool. Yeah, because you're the only one who elected to use a subclass that's not in the PHB. You elected to go with Way of Shifting Flow.
Correct.
Okay. We all know you're not going to use it. You're just going to jump in and do Flurry of Blows until you hit 0 HP.
No. I have changed my tack.
All right. Serenity and Mahogany, you can no longer gain the benefits of the pool. And do either of you share your experiences with some of the residents of the Holdfast?
No, I was immediately going to tell Mahogany.
Yeah, I'll tell Serenity about mine.
Okay.
Like, as soon as we got out of the pool, Serenity's like, Mahogany, we have to do something about this cult.
Are you sure? Like, why?
Because otherwise, every single cipher in Sigil is going to end up mazed or flayed.
That seems like a good reason. What do you think we should do, though?
I'm going to speak to Raze as soon as I get back.
That seems like a good idea.
Ciclon.
Hey.
Here's what you get to do. First of all, how long are you going to spend in this icy pool?
6 hours. 6
hours?
Yeah.
So you can make 6 percentile checks. There's a cumulative 10% chance per hour that you get a flash of insight. So start at 10, the second roll is 20, the third roll is 30, and so on. And
1 hour. Okay.
Just sit on the results. Don't say anything else, because I'm going to move on to... What does Kelian do immediately after receiving this beating in the yard?
Well, I I can tell you he's not going to hide. He's not going to cower, because that's... No. Fuck this temple and fuck that guy. So... I can say that. As for what he's specifically doing, I think at some point... level up as a downtime action. Probably take a dip in the pool.
Okay.
Eventually. Gotta figure out what he wants insight on.
Okay, well, go ahead and make the... How long are you going to spend in the pool when you go? How many hours?
4.
And is
4
Kelian
hours.
comfortable with leaving all of his clothing, weapons, and gear in this room unlocked and unguarded during that time?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, go ahead and make 4 rolls. You got a 10% cumulative chance per hour. So, people were very kind of warm and friendly to you guys when you first arrived. That is the nature of this place. Kelian, since you're beating in the yard, which am I correct in assuming that you and the other PCs who witnessed it felt was very unjust?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty raw deal.
Okay. It's very clear though that the other inhabitants of the Holdfast, both the members of the Order, the caretakers of the Holdfast, men and women both, they don't feel that way. And Kelian kind of starts getting the brush off from them. They're still cordial to him when he approaches them to speak. I mean, he's not denied meals. They're not rude. They're just more passive. Nobody wants to start a conversation with him. Nobody wants to be the guy who is seen talking to the known murderer in their midst.
You're not going to believe these rolls, but... Alright.
And, Riot, since you're not
sorry.
dipping in the pool yet, what is it you're doing for the rest of this first day?
Part of it is I'm going to go through Kelian's things
Okay.
while he's in the pool.
Okay. And so, what is it you're looking for? I mean, you have access to Kelian's character sheet, so you can just tell me
which I'm looking at right now.
which you're already perusing. Do you feel violated at all, McDohl? Like,
Nah.
Mostly I'm looking for anything on him, like, because Riot knows Kelian is like kind of an unsavory dude.
mm-hmm.
I'm just curious if he has any kind of evidence or anything on him.
The only evidence he would have on him is the Aunt Nancy badge.
Which Riot's seen before.
Speaking of Kelian's things, I'm going to address something real quick, because I saw some comments in the Twitch chat, and somebody left a comment on the YouTube video regarding Kelian's crossbow bolts. His crossbow bolts cause magical darkness wherever they land if he speaks a command word while firing it. He can elect to not use that ability, which so far I don't believe he has. So far he's just been shooting them.
Does he know the command word?
Yes,
Yeah.
you do.
He
You have
does.
intuitive
when you
knowledge
open
of
up
it as soon as you
Right.
open the cache. So you know what it can do, and you do know the command word. Otherwise, that would be a really shitty weapon.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, I'll even let Kelian come up with the command word if you want.
All right.
Lulupihu, luluwile.
Exactly. But it would be
Shit
something
time.
inabyssal, so it would sound really mean and nasty. So, what in Kelian's gear does Riot find that she considers to be incriminating?
He doesn't have a lot that I'm looking at. He's got his armor, his crossbow bolts, his case, his thieves' tools, his leather bracers, his crossbow, and burglar's kit. And the burglar's kit is kind of, why would you carry that if you're not a burglar? But Riot already knew that he was a burglar. Riot is just looking for stuff about him that she doesn't already know. Any private side of him.
Okay, and I don't think there's anything like that in his gear.
Not that I can really see.
It would all be in his kip, and someone else has it right now.
Yeah. So yeah, nothing much of interest there.
Okay. Ciclon, how'd you do on your rolls?
Ought 2 on the third roll. So after 3 hours, I gained my flash of insight.
And what is it that you were looking to receive a flash of insight on?
All right. So after all the shit that Cornu was talking about, Ciclon, about how he's hiding, running, being a coward, and this, that, and the other. What what should he be doing? Should he cast the mask aside? Should he keep going as he is? Does he need to step up and face his past?
3 separate questions. Which one?
That's all the kind of stuff that's going through his brain right now. But I think I will settle for the last one. Does he need to actively seek out his the source of his shame and deal with it?
The insight you receive is that Ciclon's shame from his past is insignificant to the amount of evil being done by these slavers, and you feel a strong sense of guilt that you've been looking at it that way, that you've been wrestling with the idea of, should I confront Jandar and his organization and tear it down so that I can feel better and come to terms with myself, when you should be doing it in order to free how many hundreds or thousands of people who are enslaved in his fighting pits. So you have that strong feeling of guilt that you've been looking at this problem as though it were your problem, when really it's an opportunity to do a great deal of good for a great deal of people.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I was feeling too. But all right, cool.
And your balls are frozen to the bottom of the pool. Kelian.
Nice. Yeah.
How'd you do on your rolls?
All right, you ready for this? I'm not making this up.
Okay.
9, 8, 2, 16.
Okay, well, you still only get the 1 flash after an hour.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, yeah. I was watching him, and it was like ot 2, ot 6. I was like, wow.
So what is it that Kelian...
Kelian would like insight on Aunt Nancy and the game, and whether or not it will actually make him... if it's actually a thing to be worth pursuing, and if it'll actually be advantageous for him to do so.
And soaking in this pool, and you're musing over the opportunities and the wealth, some of which have been fleeting, of course, but some have also been lasting. You're kind of musing over what you've already gained by pursuing this Aunt Nancy goal, and how your personality has already changed as a function of having these 4 other people who you've come to rely on, and how even though doors are closing to you in Sigil, they seem to be opening elsewhere in the multiverse. But what you realize, the insight that you gain, and it kind of scares you, because you've never been a religious man. You've never had a strong belief in any of the powers, but you realize that Aunt Nancy is a power. And this is something that you've suspected before. It's something that you and your comrades have kind of talked about a little, but it hits you that that's the only possible explanation to what Aunt Nancy is. And the idea that a power somewhere in the multiverse has taken a very personal interest in you leaves you for a moment with a sense of awe. And it's difficult to say whether pursuing the power's goals will work out well or not for you. It really depends on what he's a power of, what his congregation is like, what his worshippers are like, what worlds he's revered on, what planes he's welcome on. And the answers to those questions are beyond the capacity of the pool to deliver. But what you gain is that pursuing Aunt Nancy's game means that you're playing the game of the powers. You're a pawn in some grander scheme that is so far beyond. I mean, you've known priests and clerics and paladins in Sigil, and you've never heard of anybody being in the presence of a power that didn't sound like a lie to you. Win or lose, it's going to be an incredibly dangerous and incredibly exciting ride.
All right. Interesting. Kelian is intrigued. Right.
So yeah, your insight is that there's only one of 2 ways this is going to end for Kelian. He's either going to end up on the good side of a power, which leads to unimaginable wealth, happiness, contentment, etc., or you're being bamboozled by a power, which is the exact opposite.
All right. It's good, though.
All right, I'm going to take 2 seconds to hit the head, which I should have done before I started the stream, but I didn't.
It's a good idea.
Damn it, Burger.
So everybody be thinking about what you're going to be doing over the course of the next 2 days, if anything. Just a quick rundown of the important NPCs that are available here.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask because I realized what happened was I took a bunch of notes last week, and then I didn't save that file, and my computer reset for updates every night.
Nice. House Warden Korenu, he is in charge of running the joint.
Is that the barrier?
No, that's
Korenu's the Dragonborn. He's the one that
Okay.
dressed Kelian down in the square. The barrier, his name is Watchman McRuden. He is kind of Korenu's right-hand man. There is Miss Sarah, she's in charge of Home and Hearth at the Holdfast. She's basically in charge of all the women folk here. Only about 1 in 4 of the members of the order here are women. And so she's in charge of the day-to-day operations of the place. Getting people fed, getting things cleaned, repaired, construction, that kind of thing. There is... Barm is the lapsed harmonium Githzerai that you all spoke to.
That's right, I wanted to talk to him.
And then there is a VIP staying here currently named Iona Whitespear, who is a member of the Mercy Killers, a Justicar of the Mercy Killers that does not believe in the direction of her faction. Alright, so give me 2 minutes. I'm going to go hit the head. I'll be right back.
Okay. I still have 2 goals written on this map. I guess I should try to pursue one of them.
It got surprisingly cold around here, and I was like, wondered why is my apartment 60 degrees? And then it was like, oh, because it's like 60 degrees outside. It was like 80 yesterday. Utah weather is weird, man.
Yeah, when my players were over, everyone was complaining how hot it was in here, so I had to direct the fans right onto the middle of the room. I don't have air conditioning.
That's terrible. How do you not have air conditioning?
Just old apartment building.
It wasn't that bad when I was there.
No, but you were there like fall.
Alright, apologies.
Now it's coming up on mid-May, so.
Those are 2 different months.
Yeah.
So, Riot, what are you doing over the course of the next 2 days waiting here for Amuleth to show up?
So, at some point, realizing that all of our other friends have done it, she is going to take a dip in the pool.
Okay. For how long are you going to soak in the pool?
She's going to figure that she's going to match Kelian at least.
Kelian was out after an hour. Kelian was only in there
out
for an
after-
hour. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It came real quick to him.
I'll go for 4 hours then.
Okay, go ahead and make your 4 rolls. Keep those to yourself for now. Kelian, what are you planning to do over the course of the next 2 days?
Level up.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to figure out which skills I need to proficient in.
Oh yeah, I need to get my player's handbook. That's what I originally got up for.
I feel like it would make sense if he became proficient in religion after being here. So,
Are you allowed to gain a new skill with expertise? Or do you
No,
gain
I gotta
expertise in a skill you already have?
it's gain proficiency in 2 extra skills.
Okay.
Yeah, I just checked it. I'll double check again.
Okay.
Yeah,
But as
6th
far
level,
as
you can choose 2 more of your proficiencies to gain this benefit.
okay, as far as actions in the Holdfast over the course of the next 2 days.
You know, the religious member of our party, the murderer.
There are gods of murder.
Yeah, totally.
It just seems to make sense. In terms of actually doing anything, other than appearing not being afraid of these people here, no.
So Kelian is afraid of these people?
Not being afraid. Like,
Okay.
He's not afraid of these people. These people are...
Okay. LC Clone, what are you going to spend the next 2 days doing?
Well, first there's the level up thing that I'm doing, and then I also want to talk to Barm.
Barm.
Yeah.
And what is about Serenity for the next 2 days?
Serenity doesn't really have anything to do. She's probably just going to meditate, maybe wander around a bit.
Okay. And what about Mahogany?
I want to talk to that person here who was what did you say her rank was? A Justicar?
You want to talk to Ione?
Yeah, Ione.
Ione is a Justicar. A Justicar is a member of the Mercy Killers. She's their bounty hunter. When a criminal slips their grasp, she's the one that they send out across the plains, tasked with bringing them to justice. And one of the reasons that Justicars are considered with such high regard is that they are magically compelled to chase down their bounty and bring them back. And if they fail, bad things happen to them. So this is not just a rank of the Mercy Killers that anybody looks to attain to, and they have a reputation for being incorruptible.
So is she showing any ill effects for not having gone back?
Oh, she completed her latest bounty. But she hasn't gone back to Sigil since.
So where was she supposed to bring him?
No, she brought him back to Sigil and then left.
Okay.
So that happened. The problem was she didn't like the direction that the faction was taking, and I think it says she's been here for a little over a year, I think. Let me double check that.
Get an extra 5 feet of movement.
No, it's Barm that's been here for a year. She left Sigil the day after Factal Nylesia's proclamation. After Nylesia gave that ridiculous assertion that we're going to just stuff everybody in Sigil into hard labor in the lower plains, Ione decided that was it. She can no longer follow this woman. So you're going to go check out Ione. So let's start with...
Oh, I don't get a... Okay.
So Riot, how'd you do on those rolls?
I got a 77, an 05, an 85, and a 20.
05 is good enough.
Okay. And by the way, before all this happened, Riot would have gone to Barm and asked him to do her a favor.
What favor?
Can you hold my pack for me? And don't open it. Make sure nobody sees it.
There are people going through people's packs. It's crazy.
Barm refuses because when you ask him to hold your pack, he infers that it's because you're going to go to the pool. Mm-hmm. And he tells you that the pool will not work unless you give it a show of faith.
Oh, is that how that works?
But
right.
He sympathizes with you.
Okay. Well, in that case, then, yeah, I'll just leave the pack on the shelf.
And so how many of the other players are going to change their actions to root through Riot's pack?
Well, Kelian had no idea, so he won't actually do it.
So
if
Riot,
he wanted to know what was in Riot's pack, he'd just ask.
After 2 hours, you receive a flash of insight.
Okay.
So what is it Riot's after?
Riot wants to know if she should bother with this whole band thing, or if she should strike it out on her own.
And the insight that Riot receives is that you suddenly realize that you've never made an effort at the band thing. Every time you've fallen in with a group of people, dozens of times over however many years you've been doing this, you always reach a point where you inevitably push them away. And you look back, and you've been telling yourself it's always, circumstances didn't favor it. We had to shove them through a portal to Arborian, nothing we could do. But looking back, you see it's always been you. You've always been the weak link in every band you've been in. And you realize that to pursue that would take an amount of work and commitment that frankly scares you. You would have to become close to people long enough to build a relationship with them and then come together to make something good out of it. So, and that's not something that you think you're comfortable doing. However, you have all of these wonderful solo songs that you've been putting together in your time adventuring. And you think that your personality type, you're just destined to be an island unto yourself. And that if you're going to pursue it, you should pursue it alone.
Okay.
El Ciclon, where do you hunt Barm down?
I would imagine the guest quarters.
Okay, so you flag him down in the dorms one morning?
Yeah.
Okay, and what is it that you want to talk to Barm about?
I wanted to know if he knows anything about the homeland where the Githzerai come from, Limbo.
Oh, he knows a great deal of Limbo.
Well, tell me about it. I haven't seen it since, the whole thing happened, so...
You mean the whole thing that happened a million years ago that is part of ancient mythology at this point?
No, I mean, ever since El Ciclon was born. I mean, he barely knows the place because he was taken away from there at a young age.
Okay.
He wants to know about it.
He tells you of a guild of Chaos Shapers. Chaos Shapers are people who are so attuned to the mass of Limbo, to the matter that makes up the plane, that they can shape it to their will. And typically this requires concentration. For example, if Mahogany went to Limbo, he could make the chaos matter into whatever he wants, but it would only hold that shape as long as he was focusing on it. But there's a guild of Githzerai, and Githzerai by nature are a lawful race. But what they do is their minds are so in tuned to a particular kind of order that they're able to project that order onto the chaotic shape of Limbo, which is very susceptible. So they're able to create entire islands and cities. And the way they maintain these islands and cities is they formed a Chaos Shapers Guild. They kind of double as the city watch, in a way. They walk the walls of the city, and at any given time, there are enough people on duty maintaining the shape of the city that it doesn't disperse into chaos. And this is the order that Barm was a part of for a long time, before he came to Sigil. That was what he knew as a child. He grew up in this guild in one of the cities on Limbo. Let's name this city. Let's go to fantasynamegenerators.com. And I like that the D&D names actually just have Githzerai as an option. Somewhere in third or fourth edition, the Githzerai became a mainstream race.
Third edition.
Was it third?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, they were pretty. I mean, they've always been actually probably the most popular monster race since Unearthed. But yeah, third edition, they actually, I would say, when they got pretty big, I saw a lot of PC Gith in third.
As far as I'm not usually not a big fan of fluff fantasy races, anything outside of the Tolkien sphere. I'm not really a big fan of. But the Githzerai I've always liked.
Yeah, everyone's always liked the Gith. They're probably the most well designed and interesting race D&D ever created.
The Githzerai made being enslaved into a cottage industry for the race.
The town that Barm comes from was called Gronth. And the problem with Limbo is because portals, especially to Sigil, need to be anchored on something, portals on Limbo don't sustain very long. So what happened to Barm and to a couple other of his order was they discovered a portal to Sigil near their village and decided to travel through it as a way to kind of expand their horizons. They felt that this would make their village better. But after they went through, the limbo side of the portal dissolved. And no, they had never been able to find their way back to their city since. So Gronth is lost to him, probably forever. So he made his new way for himself in Sigil. But he tells you the grand stories of the roiling chaos of Limbo, and the beauty of it is that it is so susceptible to suggestion. The beauty of it is you can impose your will on the place and make what you want. He describes it as a paradise.
Sounds awesome. Sounds awesome. I'd like to go there someday if my road takes me there.
He says that there are many roads that go there. There's the gate town of Chaos on the Outlands has a gate that always goes into Limbo. He also asks you what you know of the world Ash.
Ash.
Have you ever traveled the great tree of Yggdrasil?
No.
He tells you that there's a place in Sigil where one of the roots of Yggdrasil touches, and that one of the great questions of the philosophers in the city of Gronth was, does Yggdrasil touch this point of Limbo for a reason? Or is it Yggdrasil's root reaching into Limbo that imposes a focused point for it to touch? And this is a question that many of the people of his city have meditated on, and that he continues to meditate on. He considers it to be a question with no answer. It's a good way for him to clear his mind.
Kind of a chicken or the egg kind of a thing, huh? That's kind of how Adam's wrapping his brain around it. It's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Which came first, Limbo or the tree root of Yggdrasil?
The egg came first because egg-laying creatures evolved long before chickens. There, question answered. Don't use that to meditate anymore.
Wow.
Sorry, did I just wreck your whole worldview? Get on my level, son.
Way to be an asshole.
And Barm really enjoys the conversation about Limbo. And he tells you, though, that it's very dangerous because the plane is impossible to map. And if you get lost there, there's no way to find your way back. You'll be just floating in the limbotic soup for all the rest of time. And that's the inherent danger of chaos, he says. To lose yourself to that sort of muddlement.
I feel like I lost myself a little. I feel like a little part of myself shook loose when I traveled through Pandemonium. So
he asks why you would ever go to Pandemonium.
I don't know, because I ended up getting doused in some Styx water while I was there, and I don't really remember too well.
And he says that Pandemonium offers a good counterpoint to Limbo because they're two different facets of chaos. Pandemonium is tunnels hewn through rock that do not change. The paths are consistent, and there is an order to them. The chaos, he says, there is psychological. It's in your senses, is in what you experience. Whereas in Limbo, your senses are all you have, and the chaos is in the matter around you. It's not a malevolent chaos. And he also cautions you, don't go back to Pandemonium. That was a mistake.
No, I've already made that resolution, so no worries there.
He's able to tell you. Write down on your character sheet and remind me later that he's able to tell you a main route, a portal to use in Sigil that will take you to a main Githzerai junction in Limbo that is relatively well traveled. I don't have time right now to look up in the book what it is, but jot that down and remind me of it later, and I'll make sure to flesh that out.
Sure. All right. Yeah, I just made a note on there. Sigil to Limbo route.
The two most common routes is he knows one that goes to one of the cities, one of the Githzerai strongholds in Limbo, or travel across the Outlands to the gate town of Chaos.
Mm-hmm. The gate town is actually named Chaos.
It's spelled Xaos, and the spelling of it changes depending on the who's saying. So it might be Chaos, it might be Soxa. You know, it depends.
That is ridiculous. I love every part of it.
Mahogany, Where do you attempt to flag down INA Whitespear?
Well, we heard that she was in that, where was it that Riot found her? The
Riot
temple.
spoke to her in the temple, yes.
Alright, well, let's go check out the temple.
Okay.
Maybe there'll be someone there who knows where she is, if she's not there.
What time of day are you doing this?
When I think of it.
But what time of day do you think of it?
I don't know, let's say it comes to me halfway through lunch, so I just leave.
Okay.
Mahogany, you gonna finish that?
What you're told in the temple is that INA tends to retire for a time of prayer after meals, so she should be along shortly if you go there during lunch.
Alright, excellent. I'll try to flag her down before she goes in there.
Okay.
So I'll just wait for her.
So on her way in, you kind of flag her down that you want to speak with her, and she seems slightly off-put that you're standing in between her and a time of prayer, but she doesn't blow you aside. She asks what you would have of her.
I wanted to know what her thinking was at the moment about what she's going to do when she gets back to Sigil. Does she think that she's going to stay in the faction? Does she think she's going to try to change it?
She tells you that she, at the moment, doesn't know if she's going to return to Sigil, and that's why it's very important that she spends so much time communing in prayer.
If the faction doesn't change, would she leave the faction first, or would she try to change the faction?
She answers... how... If you were to have an idea to change the shape of Mount Celestia, how would you go about doing it?
Why would I change the shape of Mount Celestia? It seems fine just as it is.
And she says that she's not sure that she has time for this conversation.
Mahogany will look around. He says, "Do you have somewhere to be?"
And she looks a little annoyed up at the temple doors that she's attempting to walk through.
Oh, is this not a good time? Do you want to talk later?
She says, meaning as little disrespect as I can, it's not clear to me that I want to talk to you ever.
That wasn't that much disrespect, so I think you did a pretty good job of that.
And with that, she leaves the clown behind and enters into the temple.
And Mahogany goes back to finish his lunch.
And it's not there because Ciclon friggin' ate it. That lunch
Mahogany
had
just looks at Ciclon, betrayed.
That sandwich had a perfect state of being, and it was being inside Ciclon. And then on the third day, does anybody have any other actions for inside here before the plot shows up?
I don't actually gain new proficiencies and skills. I just double the proficiency bonus in them.
I was thinking that's what it was, but I didn't know if you also gain new skills eventually. No. Okay.
All right.
Which I haven't been doing, so I'm going to do that now.
Wright would like to go talk to Miss Sarah.
Okay. Miss Sarah is uncommonly busy throughout the day. And just kind of watching her working throughout the course of the 2 days you've spent here, she doesn't delegate well. She's the kind of person who needs to do everything herself. Like, she'll watch one of the young handmaidens folding a bed sheet, declare that she's doing it wrong, grab it and furl it out and fold it herself to show her how it's done. So you get the sense that she creates a lot of work for herself unnecessarily.
Yeah.
So where do you flag down Miss Sarah at? Most likely she'd be here in the mess or in the barracks.
Probably the mess would be the easiest part, because I imagine as Lady of the Hearth, she spends a lot of time cooking.
And am I correct in assuming that you would not do this during one of the meals?
No, because I would be eating during one of the meals.
Okay. So one evening, an hour or so after the evening meal has been served. You figure by now, of course, a lot of the cleaning must be done and the kitchen must be winding down. And you make your way back into the kitchen area, and Miss Sarah is there wrapping the knuckles of one of the young girls for stirring a meringue improperly, or whatever the case may be. And as soon as you walk in the door, she levels a spoon at you and barks that if you're going to be in here, you're going to work. And she points over to a rack of aprons hanging on the wall.
All right, I'll take an apron.
Okay? And she puts you to work, doing some pre-preparation for tomorrow's breakfast, just cutting vegetables and etc.
Okay.
So what is it you want to talk to Miss Sarah about?
I had wanted to ask her how Yolana's getting along, how she's settling in, and I'm kind of grateful for the work because it lets me get a chance to see what kind of life Yolana has in store.
She tells you that productive work is one of the greatest virtues that mortals can know. The act of creating or building or cooking or cleaning something and making it better than it was is one of the greatest joys that she knows as a person, and that's what she instills in the girls that come to her. To that end, she thinks Yolana is an exceptional student. She will make for a very productive member of the order, and she thinks that one day, with diligent work, Yolana will be hearth mistress at one of the holdfasts.
How many of those are there?
How many holdfasts?
Yeah.
She thinks for a minute, and she says that there are 98, but that 12 of those are seasonal. The winter months are inhospitable. So 12 of those are only owned or only manned and operated for half of the year. She says that most of them are on the first 4 layers of the mountain. They get more common the lower you go. But there is at least one monastery on the 5th and 6th layer as well.
Okay. And I'll ask, is that how she became hearth mistress? Did she work her way up through the ranks?
She says she got her knuckles wrapped, but good.
Where'd you come from?
She came from Sigil.
Oh.
And she kind of rants a little bit about the petty squabbles of the factions and how she felt as a Sigilian through her youth. Enormous pressure to dive into this pool of just petty squabbling back and forth. This faction believes this, and this faction believes this, and of course every faction knows what's best. And that even the lawful factions, even the ones that she was most inclined towards as a young woman, seemed pointless to her. They seemed like their end game was just more and more squabbling, until she met one of the paladins of the Plains Militant who was coming through Sigil, and he was a man who seemed to have purpose, and he entered his service right there and then. So she was probably 15 or 16 when this happened.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree with you more about how pointless all that faction intrigue is. Makes everybody's lives worse, I say.
And then she kind of says, uh-huh, and then she asks what faction you're in.
Well, I'm the one that wants to end it all.
And she kind of gives you this knowing look as she nods, and she says, "Are you sure you're on the right plane, sweetheart?"
I won't be here much longer, I can tell you that.
And she's a harsh mistress while she's putting you to work, but she does not treat you unkindly. But she does admonish you for cutting the tomatoes the wrong way, and then takes over and...
Damn it, Riot, learn to cut tomatoes.
Yolana is not in the kitchen at this point, though. She has been put to work repairing some of the stonework on some of the upper levels of the holdfasts.
Okay.
Anybody else for day 3 doing anything?
I was going to go talk to Yolana.
So you ask, you've probably asked Miss Sarah, and she tells you that Yulana has. She tells you that she's been placed on a construction crew, reinforcing one of the upper levels of the holdfasts, and that she is not available at the moment. Right now,
Why
her
not?
work is because she's working elsewhere in the holdfast, in a place where you can't go. But she gives you every assurance that Yulana's health and security are being seen to, and that she is a studious and diligent
Mahogany
worker.
leaves.
And then
Mahogany has less than zero interest in other people's opinions on how other people are doing.
and she grabs your shoulder and says, "That's not how you storm out of a kitchen. Let me show you how it's done."
Mahogany asked her how to storm out of a kitchen.
And she tells you that you shouldn't, and that you should behave yourself.
But like, if you had to.
On the third day, there is some commotion in the morning that kind of wakes you all up a little earlier than you're used to. And the commotion is that McRudin has organized this welcoming party for the liaison from Arakanor. So when you poke your heads out into the yard on the morning of the third day, a lot of the men-at-arms here standing at attention. Spears drawn, standing in perfect rows. And eventually, on top of the outer wall, you hear a bugle sound. And the great doors, the great marble doors open. And Amuleth arrives. Amuleth is also a Hound Archon, so he has the same dog shape that Akazriel had. And he comes in, bids his welcome to McRudin and to some of the other senior guardsmen. And then he is quickly brought to past where you guys are standing at the entrance of the... Oh, no, I'm sorry. He's brought past where you guys are standing, past the temple, up where you know Coronu's chambers are up here. Barm is standing with you, Art. He explains that after his report with Coronu, probably after the midday meal, they'll probably spend the morning together in isolation. But after that time, Amuleth will be made available to you all, so you can complete whatever it is you came here to do.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
So where do the five of you want to meet up with Amuleth? Where do you want this conversation to take place, and what time of day do you want it to happen?
Let's invite him to lunch.
Okay, so that same day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are all five
Tired
of
of
you?
this place.
All five of you going to
Leave.
sit down and eat with him?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Sure.
That just makes my
I don't
life
see any
easier.
reason.
Yeah.
Which of you actually invites you over to sit with you?
I'll do it.
Okay. Amuleth looks amused when this Tiefling comes up to him and sees your little motley crew at the table over here. And he comes to take his midday meal with all of you. He says, "Well met."
Yeah, you too. You're Amulet, right?
And he nods. He says he has the pleasure to be one of the liaisons of the order.
Hi. My name is Riot. These are my friends, Serenity, Mahogany, Kelian, and the other guy, Ciclon.
He says that's quite a collection of names you all have.
We like him.
They fit.
And he asks, to what does he owe the pleasure of your company?
Well, we got sad news for you. Do you know a guy called
Osriel.
Casriel?
And he nods sadly and says, "Alas, I did. I've been informed of his passing. Thank you for your condolences. He was a friend."
He died fighting slavers down by the name of Jandar. Not Jandar there himself, but a Merilith in their service.
And again, you just see the sadness on his face, and he nods knowingly. And he says that he always expected that's how it would end for him.
How do you mean? Like, that he would just meet his end in battle, or that he'd meet his end against Jandar?